Okay, this video is going to introduce you to the concept of variables and also introduce you to a concept known as data types. So in every programming language uses variables and variables are stored as particular data types. In this first example here I have created a variable x and I've set it equal to the word alpha. So this variable x will store the word alpha. Now in Python, Python recognizes that if you put something in speech marks, then it will treat it as what's known as a string data type. And a string data type is a data type which stores characters, which can be both letters and numbers, or indeed any other character on a standard QWERTY keyboard. The next variable I've created is variable y, and variable y I've set it equal to 16. Now Python, again being intelligent, it works out that if I set it equal to a numeric value, then it will treat it as a well, depending on what type of numeric data type. In this case it's a non-decimal, it's an integer or a whole number. In that case it will store it as an int, which is short for the word integer. Now you can always check the data type by using the word type in for example a print statement. So if I run this, you'll see that it outputs the data type str for x, which is short for string, and int for the variable y, which is short for integer. One thing to note in Python, or indeed any programming language, is that it doesn't like spaces in variable names. So for example, if I create the variable my name and set it equal to Bill, you see straight away it throws a little error, and if I try to run that code, it said invalid syntax, and that just shows you the line on line 13, invalid syntax. And the reason for it is it doesn't like spaces. Now you can put an underscore in, it accepts that, or you can leave no spaces at all, but a commonly used trick is to capitalize the first letter in the second word if you're using a multi-word variable name. So you just have to be careful when you're naming variables that you don't put any spaces in, and also that your variable then has some sort of meaning, that it's not just x and y, that you try and put some meaning into your variable so that you know what it represents. With variables you can also assign many values to different variables at the same time. So if, for example, I created variables a, b and c, and I set them equal to names of people, let's say John, Dave and Jill, and then I printed A, B and C, and C, it should then print the values John, Dave and Jill, even though all of that has been assigned on one line. The print statement also allows you to stitch together the output from a print statement with a variable as well. If you take a look at this example, here I have a variable which is a string, and it says is an awesome programming language, and I have simply stitched that to the output Python in the print statement, and you'll see the output would look like this. Python is an awesome programming language. The next example then shows you how to stitch together variables, in this case two string variables, and here I have two variables, line 2 and line 3, and line 4 then will stitch together line 2 and line 3 and then print it, and you'll see that if I just run that again, you'll see that that is the output from this block of code. And the last little block of code explains how a print statement is intelligent enough to work out that when you're stitching together two int variables, i.e. variables which contain whole numbers, it doesn't stitch them together like it would a string, but instead whenever you add them together it will literally add them together mathematically, and you'll see that the output from stitching together the int variable number 1 and the int variable number 2, which are equal to 6 and 4 respectively, whenever it adds them together it will actually give you a numeric result of 10.